Welcome back to Solutionary TV. I am your host, Dr. Tatiana Irvin, and this is a welcome. This is a response to the call for the topic that everyone is talking about right now. The topic that has taken the internet by storm. It is a topic that is so near and dear to our hearts because we are looking for answers at the highest level that we exist as humanity. We are in an era of human evolution, and this is the Ascension series. And I am here on location in gorgeous Walden, Ohio, at the Walden Spa with Jenessee Roy. Genesee, I'm so thrilled to have you here with me.
It is the most heart-centered I've been in a while to be here connected with you in this space, ready to bring this message to everybody out there who is seeking like we have been. And so I just can't wait to connect this information to those who are ready for it.
There's no question, and so many are ready for it. And I want our listeners to understand we are opening up the phone lines tonight. We're doing something that is taking the message further. We want you to get in on the conversation. We know that you have a lot of questions. We know that you've been listening and following Solutionary TV. Perhaps you've been one of the many that have been scouring the internet for more information about what is going on with the globe, what is going on with our current education and political and just human systems, what's taking place within our bodies. And there's a lot of really beautiful content coming out all over the internet because humanity is seeking and humanity is answering. This call for the Ascension series came in crystal clear because as an intuitive, as a teacher and an author and a show host, but more importantly as a human being who is always seeking that answer to what comes next. What's happening now and how do I show up next? Guidance gave me a very clear message just a few weeks ago in one of the most lucid meditations of my life. Ascension series is what is needing to come through and being called for through Solutionary TV. And it said, and go call up Jenessee Roy, that woman who has been a guest on your show and an expert in her own right of working through dimensionality and the understanding that we are integrated souls. We are integrated divinity. And that is very much parallel with what we would call the ascension and how each of us are going to be integrating and seeing the well-roundedness of what we have to experience even while we are transitioning in and out of this 3D experience. And so I'm bringing her in as the co-host of Ascension series. I am so honored that she accepted. We jumped on this immediately. I want you to tell our listeners as they're getting warmed up to you how it was for you when you got the call from guidance, your own immediate divine data download before I even gave you that call, because I really want them to welcome you into being part of this dialogue, Genesee.
So the really interesting and amazing part of this is both of us working this matrix or the web, however you want to see, sense, feel into this grid that we're all a part of. Tatiana and I were both connected and received this immediate call to action that things were changing, things were shifting. And in this overall perspective of reality right now, we had both been triggered so intensely and intimately to shift our lives, to shift what we call 3D and 3D reality, honestly. And this phone call from Divine came in so quickly, so strongly. For me, just 2 months ago, I had let me just give you a little background. We're sitting in a resort spa that I have run for the past 12 years in beautiful Northeast Ohio. And I've grown up in the spa industry, spent my entire life teaching, training, and promoting wellness, health, mind, body, spirit connection. And not even on my radar was the potential to step into multi-dimensionality so quickly, so strongly. And just 2 months ago, right after connecting with Dr. Irvin, we had this immediate response that everything we were holding on to 3D had to be let go so that we could basically step into complete clarity of ascension for ourselves, because it's something that I've been on the path for over 10 years. I'm sure you are there.
It's a
or
lifelong
even more.
path. It's a lifelong path for sure.
Born into it, denied it, and then stepped back into it.
Yes.
And so just at June 11th, I know that was my day that I let go, but we had connected through a text first and then a phone call.
That's right.
And you said, I'm being downloaded with your name. Divine guidance is telling me to give you a call. And I had been thinking about her as this beautiful grid of entanglement works. And we both had chosen at that point to let go of a 3D. And should we explain that? So the 3D for me was, I no longer hold this physical job here at this resort property. It came in so strong, so intensely for me that I could not take a breath in this universe without knowing that I had to step into a purpose and a path, an ascension code that was being triggered within me so that I could fully expand and give everybody what I have learned along the way.
Yes.
And you had connected.
Absolutely. When you have these moments, and viewers, we know you're having them. We are here because we respect, we honor, and we are in complete reverence that you're having them too. And there are so many that are talking about this. Maybe it's, a hypnosis session and you're feeling wrapped up in something that's being revealed through the client, or it's a healer or a channeler, and they're telling you what they're getting from Gabriel or Archangel Michael. What are we missing right now? We're missing dialogue. We're missing the ability to be able to reach right through the screen, right through these technological tools, and be able to say, I'm having these experiences too, and I need to make sense of them. I need a vernacular around them. I need to be able to be heard and have community and know how to be patient and enduring, because a lot of people are like, can we just call it quits and make it over? And we're missing the fact that there are still really important key aspects that are available for us in this 3D to 4D and higher for many transition. So my transition was what you're doing in the 3D, and I got some specific data about what that was. I went right out of my body, was taken in the most lucid state without even really knowing that I had aligned myself to go that far, that fast. Completely out of my body, and especially looking down from above, seeing the multi-dimensionality of my vehicle and realizing that with all of the choices, I was really looking at aligning more with the 6th-dimensional version of myself. And that may sound outrageous to some of you, and others you may be going, yes, 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 I knew that, I heard that too. But that's what we're here for. That's what we're here to talk about. So being humble and not thinking like a savvy business person, and not thinking from a strategic, competitive, dualistic, no, just sheer faith, conviction, and honoring, yes, that heart space that says, this is the level of collaboration that we need to be moving into as a humanity, to have systems that are pure, regenerative, conscious, a world of conscious, sentient life. It has to start with this kind of vulnerability and exchange, doesn't it, Genesee?
Yes. We had met each other one time through an interview where we weren't even in the same room, and had connected so intensely, so multidimensionally in that space, that when you had your out-of-body experience and received divine download at that moment, it was telephone wire to my energetic field. I picked it up. I know I was sitting on my porch multiple times that week, and I'd think about you. And so I was receiving divine phone call, and it just transpired so beautifully. I'd like for you to talk and tell the audience about what had shifted, because there was how you explained being human right at the end of our interview on Solutionary TV. You explained to me what your goal was in Shasta. And then when we talked the next time, when we both had received that divine phone call to let go of 3D and step into the divinity of what was being created. Right. So can you speak to that?
So she went right to the spiritual jugular. I don't know whether you know what that question was, but that was loaded. Really loaded.
Vulnerability.
And we're not going to piecemeal, but we are going to build on this, because we want it to not blow the doors off of being able to hold some context around it. Because when you get into multidimensionality and you get into the eternality of the universe and all of sentient life, it is one major source field. It is one major grid. To my students in energy and medical intuition, we call it running the grid. And so running the grid is everything. Running the grid is what our military was doing when they're talking about remote viewing and astral projection. Running the grid is when you do distance Reiki healing. Running the grid is when you are able to call someone in that is a loved one that's passed on from beyond the veil of your immediate perception, but not gone at all, right?
And take it very mainstream too. People are running the grid and don't even know they're running the grid.
Every night they go to sleep.
When you go to sleep and you're in that state. Also, when you step into your car and all of your energy bodies go zoom, 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 and come into this one space, and you know where you're starting, you know where you need to go, and you drive there and you have no clue how you got there, yet the whole time you were having clairvoyant imagery move through your mental space.
Right.
That is running the grid. And in these moments, it's so pertinent to know what's happening, whether you're consciously running the grid or unconsciously running the grid.
It is, Genesee. And for those that are seeking more understanding about ascension, and what does it mean? What is ascension? There's a catchphrase now, and we're calling it ascension, and some will say it's the shift. They'll say it's the event. Some will say compression breakthrough. But just for the sake of this series and serving you, because we're here to serve you, we're doing this journey work. We are doing this really deep, passionate journeying in our story so that we can marry where you are and where we can support you, and where we can also benefit through the laws of reciprocity with what you're sharing, so that everyone is embellished by this sharing. But really what Genesee said was, you need to tell everyone how far you can go with this running the grid. And folks, you can go all the way. What does all the way mean?
Yeah, what does all the way mean?
I am an address. Genesee is an address. This body, this vehicle, this life, and the identity around it is nothing more than two addresses that spun off from my parents that I chose to incorporate into a vehicle. And I do believe I chose this. I believe the individuation of my soul in a wiser and in a more connected aspiration said, this is the experience that I want to have. I believe that we all did that. I believe that we all knew that experience was the purpose for being here in 3D, and that this wild, wild west of a planet gave us just about every opportunity we could in that space between light and what some would consider darkness, or simply, the harmony and adversity, the poles that we experience, and where neutrality is in the middle. So to come back to her statement, which was really a question, how far can you go? You can go all the way back to source. This ascension is not just from 3D to 4 and a quick jump into 5. It's wherever you want to take it. And for many that are really relishing in 3D, or they're addicted and can't see past 3D, some aren't going to move past a third dimensional world. and it isn't a punishment. This was the Mac Daddy question and the Mac Daddy statement. It isn't a punishment. It's just resonant frequency as the address of your individuation, meeting the resonant frequency where you can continue to learn, thrive, and also be able to sustain the vehicle, the address, the persona that you are. Because to have the lids blown off by a 6-dimensional experience would be too intense of an experience for you to endure. It would be an overwhelming and jarring experience. And there are many that would say it would actually disintegrate the fabric of the individuality that you are experiencing right now. So guidance said, you're not going to go based on your current work and trajectory from 3D through 4 to 5. You've already decided that you want to be moving into 6, and here's what it looks like. And here's some of the 3D pieces you need to let go of. And here are the pieces you need to integrate. And go call this woman and bring forth the Ascension series and get all of those amazing viewers. You are the reason we're here. Get you on the phone, calling us in at halfway to the hour. We're going to have you call. Folks, please write this down because we really want this to be a dialogue. This is a coffee house. This is a salon of high minds and big hearts and sharing, isn't it, Genesee?
Spiritual coffee house. And this is where all of these pathways connect and meet together. I think so much of what we're seeking is validation for what we're experiencing, validation for the questions that move through our mental field constantly. So many people, like you said in the beginning, in the opening of this, is so many people are out there Googling and searching, and I believe, as I'm sure you do, that when we seek for an answer, we're gonna get that answer. Anytime we seek, we're gonna get it. And so why not in such a supported space where our only agenda is to connect into the heart and to bring everything we've experienced and gone through and now have been triggered to bring into this series. That's our only agenda, is to give you our hearts and to allow you to connect however often we're going to do this over
weekly
and over and over. And with whatever questions you have, everything's approachable here. There's no wrong question. There's no wrong feeling. Everything you are, everything you bring to this, everything you seek is so pertinent for this time, for this space, not only for you, but for the thousands of people that are scared to maybe speak that or ask that or hear the vibration and the resonance that comes back to you through this platform. So
it all has value. It's all relevant. There are no wrong questions, as she said, and it isn't even necessarily that we have all the answers, but we're going to tell you right now what is real about this concept of ascension has been so embodied in both of us as individuals, and we really believe that spirit, universe, higher consciousness, all of the above, please choose your verbiage, and we're good with it, brought us together and said, serendipity is going to become the wave of the future. What we once thought was coincidence, what we once thought was just how did the right alignment come together? Because that's how the universe works when we are conscious, when we are co-creating. It's beyond the law of attraction. Law of attraction is still kind of a 3D construct. This is just fluidity and embodiment. This is just everything shows up exactly as you need it because you are a God creator. You are an individuation of divinity with no less ability to access that than you believe you have access to be able to bring that into form. Right, Genesee?
Yeah, and that's the positive aspect. And we were talking about this a little bit earlier about being so connected and heart-centered, and when we are clear, we are clearly aligning and manifesting all of these amazing encounters and heart-centered friendships, and we're able to magnetize that which we hold within ourselves. Now, because again, we have these pendulum swings, right? So in humanity, we're constantly trying to figure out the center, who we are authentically. And so in that space, there's times, and I know a lot of your viewers question, well, what about these people who are holding on to such density and negativity? And so how does this apply? And it's the same thing. Everything that's being magnetized to you is a reflection of what you're moving through or trying to release, or it's the beliefs, the patterns, the lessons that we all say we come here with as humans, embodying this address, this physical shell. So in that space, it's wonderful to know that as we're aligning, the things that are coming in that feel so resonant to us it's basically an expression of what's held within us. And then the same thing, if you're attracting things outside of you that, if you're the person who constantly says, I can't go into a room filled with people because their energy is just it makes me so anxious and I can feel how angry they are, then maybe it's time to do some mirror work, some reflection work, and really start to figure out, where am I holding anger, right? So everything that surrounds us in this objective reality, in this external world, is here co-creating through us to be this beautiful tool to help us continue to step to the next platform, and to be able to be in this reality and be just in joy and compassion and hold the highest vibrations that I think so many people are seeking.
And I don't think, and I don't feel, and it has not been my spiritual witness and confirmation in my most lucid states, that seeking to escape this current 3D experience is going to be the fastest ticket to what we consider to be a lighter density. There are many of us that have been wanting to get out of our bodies. If you're on the other side of this broadcast and you're like, oh, I'm just done. The shamanic resonance has been off the charts for weeks. My job hasn't been panning out the way that it was before. And I don't even want to earn money anymore because I have objections to the financial system and I have objections to the current administration. You know the story. You have your story. For those of you that are looking to hijack this 3D experience and get out of it, unfortunately, one of the lessons, and this has been my lesson, this is really a vulnerable place for me. I figured, you know what, I can force this to happen, and I can, and so can you. But the natural integration of the third dimensional view that is here right now, as we are moving through this great year, as we are moving through the cycles that exist, on an eternal basis in the cosmos, we are not meant to miss the experience that we are in. It is actually detrimental. It is actually not in natural and divine order. So let's talk about that a little bit and open up the phone lines. What are we going through in these growing pains of ascension with trying to step into a higher dimensionality and being in meditation all of the time? And some people have lost their appetite. Some people are saying, I'm having these moments where I don't think I'm going to come back into my body. I'm one of them. But Genesee, let's talk about the love affair that we need to also still be having with the version of us that's right here and the world that is in this transition that we have actually chosen to be here in.
Oh, yeah. And so one thing that we both share and connect to is this concept of, as you're ascending, one of the things you will inevitably say to yourself or to somebody, a close friend who's also going through the seeking process, is, I just want to leave. It's just too hard. I'm just going to ascend. When is the day coming? Tell me, astrologically, when are we supposed to be in that golden age? When's that cycle over where we're all stepping into 5D and we can just get out of this place already? It's so dense. It's so filled with negativity. And however you're explaining this, if you've heard yourself say this, I'm just going to warn you, that is the process for coming back and repeating this lifetime again. One thing we share is that we have found this, like you said, a love affair. I am so excited to be human. It is I vibrate this, and I want everybody to know how good and how juicy and how amazing. The last thing I want to do is leave this body. And so I think in finding that authentic spark within you, when you can claim that, then you know you're on the right path. And so how do we get there?
Mm-hmm. And I want you to know, Genesee and I are weaving together the best of what guidance has led us to at this point. We may not agree or align on every little piece, and that's the best part of our co-hosting this, because she needs to be getting her truth, I need to be getting my truth, and we honor and we encourage you to be getting your truth. This is a dialogue. This is a coffee house. This is a conversation. But there is no question in my mind that there are cycles that are eternal, that are cosmic. There are changes that are taking place on this planet. She goes through her own iteration. We're experiencing them in our bodies. We're enjoying becoming more lucid to our interdimensionality. And the goal here, as we are trying to come together and co-host and share with you, is you don't have to be missing out on the ascension right now because you believe you're locked in a 3D address. You are in a physical 3D body in what appears to be, to many people, a fallen world, a corrupted system, a rigged, circus. We need to look at this from a bigger perspective, a much bigger perspective. So I want to open up the phone lines. Genesee, if you're ready, let's give you the number. We would love your comments, your concerns, your questions. Call in at 919 if you are local, 518-9773. And that again is 919-518-9773. If you are international, if you do not have a toll-free way to get to us, you can come in through Skype if you have Skype. Please come on in at Computers 2K Voice, VOICE, and tell us what you're experiencing and how we can support you in what you're experiencing with regards to this shift. This is a human evolutionary shift. We've all been invited to the party. We are all going to experience it. However, we are prepared, receptive, and resonate to experience it. So I hope you feel our encouragement, and I hope you really feel beckoned. 919-518-9773. And while we're waiting for people to call, Genesee, there's been a lot of wonderful, profound gurus. There's a lot of really great gurus right now that are talking about the ascension. And I just want to mention Bentinho Massaro. He had a really beautiful blog that he wrote recently. And it was a comment that we all need analogy. We all need metaphor. And he said, it's kind of like we're all coming into, this Grand Central Station. And there are all of these various trains. And the station is capable of housing very many trains with multiple destinations. And we're finding those that we resonate with in the train station. And we're getting on board those trains that hold an ideal of a destination that not only we can envision, but it's one that we believe exists. And it's one where we believe we're in good company or with others that also believe that this is our destination. And we're kind of creating this divisibility, if you will, in this fractalized universe where everything is possible. And I did say that everything is possible. Everything you've co-created as divinity exists. There is a lot of co-creative momentum towards multiple ascension results, multiple ascension scenarios. So Genesee, let's talk about that a little bit and welcome our viewers to get on board with what do you envision it being? Let's talk about what that means for you. Let's talk about what is being experienced, and let's talk about how to co-create it together.
So the really interesting thing when you paint that picture, the metaphor of the train station, when I was going through my own reconciliation process, this is pretty much what was shown to me. It wasn't a train station, but it was the spider within the web.
Yes.
But Divine was showing me that if you want to use the word soul or the totality of who I am through all space, all time, which I call my multi-dimensionality, right? So is the spider in the middle. And so I love this metaphor you use because although it's talking about many different people, possibly not the same soul conscious, many different people getting aboard whatever belief system or ascension they're looking to create, I saw this same thing for myself in the reconciliation process, where I was straddling all of these concepts that I have had through every life experience, and how I found my way back home, right? Getting on the train to hopefully go home to your form of ascension. How I found my way back home was to look at every single one of these timelines, or for me, it was my different lifetimes that I have lived through, all time, all space, but also all of these people boarding the different trains, and to see all of these as the one totality. And it's when you can see every single thing and smile at it and say, I understand you and I see you and I see what you're doing, and then be able to find your way back to that authentic spark, that authentic soul self. That's what gives such validation to anybody going through this process, because it can be so confusing.
It can be so confusing. We've got a lot of dogma, guys. Let's be honest. There has been controlling, very highly influential belief systems, right? You know, most of us were raised with some sort of understanding. Most of us, not all of us. And it spun back to someone else's truth at one point. Someone got their own downloads. Someone had their own prophetic vision. Someone was visited by something higher in their mind in terms of intellect, technology, spiritual evolution. And dogma was built around that. And there is nothing about this conversation that defames any of that dogma. It is with total appreciation that all of these different variant belief systems and walks of faith exist. But let's bring it into a context where we understand your bias right now is co-creative, consciously or unconsciously. And when we get really clean, we realize, oh, my lack of integration, my seeing myself somewhat through a victim lens, my seeing myself through the limitedness of the address that I've inherited, the belief systems of my parents, the genetics of my genealogy, Singularity. Right? Where I was born in the world, the misfortune of the family's finances, or the war-torn area of the globe that I came from. Therefore, my beliefs are this. And then we see ourselves and what we are capable of integrating and expressing, and even calling in for what we would consider to be an ascension concept. That is all colored by those beliefs. So Genesee came on the show several weeks ago, I think we're going on about 2 months now, and talked about a book that she had written where she experienced an integration of the totality of her soul, how many different individuations were there other than an earth life, right? Or a 3D earth construct. And this is unquestionably an experience that I believe we are all capable of having. And many of you may have not realized that you're visiting it quite often when you're in your astral dream state, which is not 3D. You're not in your head. You're not in your head. Could old soup from the day of undigested thoughts and ideas and plans and obligations come through? Unquestionably. But you are traversing the cosmos. You are running the grid when you're in that 4D state. So let's talk a little bit about the integration, Genesee, and let's remind our viewers, please join in the conversation. This is exciting. This is the time where we get to do this with you. 919-518-9773 and via Skype, Computers 2K voice. Call in, we're ready for you. So let's talk about integration.
Yeah, the one thing about integrating to me, again, if we go back to the train station metaphor or the spider sitting on his web, the goal is to be living one consciousness, to be in complete connection to everything that has ever been or could ever be. And so this is what we talk about when getting into heart space. Once we go 4D, there's no such thing as time space. You know, time is only a construct of 3D dimensionality. And so as soon as we move into this expansiveness of heart space, that's when we can start tapping into in our physical body. In the car is my favorite picture of this, because people start tapping into 5D when they're just driving, or you said dream space. And so it's so clear how quickly we're moving into these expanded forms of consciousness. And people don't understand because maybe like me, they didn't have a mentor holding their hand. Or when I was growing up through spirituality, there was no YouTube. There was no, you know, I had to go and try and in the bookstore find a book on Buddhism or, you know, the Celestine Prophecy or whatever the book was.
Exactly.
And so, so now that we have this, we're here to validate. We're here to tell you that everything you're experiencing, it's a component of this integration phase. And to me, with all, I believe everybody who's watching is a master. Everybody who is out there seeking this information is a master in this time space. You would not be here hungry for this information if you were not already standing on top of the mountain. The problem is there's so much fog that is trying to block you from seeing clearly what you already have within you. And so the whole component here is this: how do I integrate it? How do I feel happy and joyful to be a human every day? Because I didn't have that. You know, we all have to work through our bleep it out here. We all have to work through it. And you have to begin the reconciliation of these traumatic lifetimes, these what we call lessons here as a human walking on this earth. Everything that's still triggering you emotionally, whether it's your husband, your wife, your partner, your kids, your boss, your name it, right? Whatever relationships, if you're still finding yourself triggered out of complete alignment, then that means that there's more to reconcile. And as you continue to integrate and as you continue to reconcile these human density kind of traumatic incidents, the fog starts clearing and you just find more peace at being this oneness that you came here to embody in this address we're calling our body, which I love, by the way.
It's a total lack of resistance, isn't it? And so many of you have heard the idea of, you know, we're going to experience the concepts of adversity, or we're going to experience loss and pain, but suffering is a choice.
Oh yeah.
Suffering is a choice just as much as happiness is a choice. Happiness is a choice. All of you that have been to third world countries, all of you that have been around those that truly have less in terms of first world acquisition can see that some of the happiest children, some of the happiest families and communities exist in third world countries where acquisition is minimal, resources are few, technology is nowhere near as rampant or available. Certainly all the adornments of first world, first world problems. First world problems. I mean, you hear some of the complaints that people make, and if you really get lucid for 5 seconds, you'll go, wow, that sounded really, really tertiary in its depth of being able to interpret how much that one, you know, sidetrack or that traffic in that moment or that spa attendant not getting to you and memorizing your name right away. Excuse me, these things are happening. It is not overall going to hold any true meaning or relevance in how you're choosing to perceive the world right now. So where are we with how this impacts how you're experiencing ascension? For those of you that are meditating, you may be experiencing, and I know many of you are, you're experiencing moments where you know you're a lot more than the address of that 3D ego and how it identifies with the body and who you've built yourself as a reputation and a family member and a neighbor and whoever else to be. And in that moment, you might have lost yourself for 5 minutes or 5 hours, and it could have been terrifying. It can be disconcerting, can't it, Genesee?
Oh, yeah.
For some, it can be liberating and expansive, and for others, it can be, I don't feel like me. And that is very, very scary. We want to be walking through in this opportunity for Ascension series to discuss what does it actually feel like when we're in integration, and how do we do it with grace, and how do we do it with a sense of awe and wonder and not attach unnecessary fear to it. So
tell me, because one of these big concepts, and I know something that you teach a lot in your workshops, is the grid. And just tell me your tell the viewers about singularity and connection and how this all comes into play with this ability to integrate.
Again, she asks these million-dollar questions, and this could use the rest of our time for this segment and for this hour. And if that's going to be where we're going to be best served, we can certainly go there. But quantum physics has finally adopted an understanding. I mean, we've been playing with this for over 90 years now. Albert Einstein understood particle entanglement and what he would call spooky action at a distance. Not the most scientific term, but he could be a playful person. We knew that Nikola Tesla had done things with toroidal fields and with energy fields that defied what we understood at the time energy was capable of doing. Remember, he gave us alternating current. Before that, we only had direct current, which would be so limiting. Our world would never progress to where it is. Where we are in a grid, in a concept of a web or a network that can look, if you're viewing it through a Hubble Space Telescope with the right filters, looking at dark matter and dark energy instead of the materialistic view of what is visually perceivable with human acuity, is a web. It is connectivity. It is intelligent energy that cannot ever be disconnected from everything else. And this individuation that we are, and I always see it this way, forgive me, I'm going to put these fingers up and I'm going to draw it for you every time, and I do this for my students. You are as a 3D being. When you're focused on being that 3D being and exclusively being that 3D being in this meat suit that you're riding in on planet Earth in 2018 during this great ascension opportunity, what that is literally a specific point in time, a specific node on a vast interconnected web that fractalizes into infinity. And if you've seen it in meditation, if you've seen it when you've been doing some shamanic journeying, if you've embodied it and embraced it when you have been on psychedelic plant medicine, or you were coming out of anesthesia, or a family member came and visited you and you had this very expansive opening into the singularity of that oneness and that totality, you know what I'm saying is true. You've experienced it. Maybe you'd use different words, and we're open to that. We want to hear what the preferred vernacular is, but we can all be running the grid at any time and doing it consciously. I've been to the other side of the veil. I want to just say that again. I've been to the other side of the veil. This body and this soul riding in this experience, this address that I am, has moved into the ability to go to the other side of the veil. And the question is, what do you do when you get there? And this is the million-dollar question. You can follow your divinity and your multidimensional self all the way back to source without having to die. And in that beautiful interconnected space, hear divinity saying, how are you enjoying being you? What are you doing with being you? You still want to keep doing this? How are you fully living the you that you chose to be? Individuated into this point in time, into this tiny little fractalized node in the vast network of infinite source code.
And so, how do you bring that back?
How do you bring it back?
It's possible to go all the way to source and have that experience and be in the complete expansiveness, but still feel your specific, unique vibration there. And then how do you experience that? And then come back and embody it.
That's right.
Because that's what it's about. That is unity plane consciousness. That is being tapped into absolutely everything. Everything from who you are through all time space, and being able to bring every single one of those divine gifts and talents back with you to support not only your growth here, but as you support yourself, you then expand this co-creative field for everybody else to play in. And that's the beauty of it. What I'm doing and playing with for myself and expanding and creating for myself, I then birth at some point and you get to step onto. And what you're doing, you birth and I get to step into. And so that's the only way divine can know itself more fully, is through us, these three-dimensional beings. We are the creating, if we can use the word God beings. We are these beings that can create actual physical reality. And so this is how the source, God, whatever name you want to put onto it, this is how we expand what that concept is by being ourselves, bringing these gifts and talents back, and then basically creating the next level of grid that we get to play in.
Sure.
And
sure.
So how is that not going to be our ascension?
And it sounds so yummy when we start talking about it from this level, right? And I know there are many of you, because I do pay attention to the comments on the YouTube channel, to the BitChute channel. I pay attention to the Facebook group pages that are focused on what's going on with this extra, dimensional, planetary climate change, solar flash world event. What's going on, and who is suffering, and who is ready for mass arrests, and who is ready to take down an elite that has been leading us astray for so long. And I'm not speaking diminutive of all of this. I know that a lot of you are suffering. This is the good news. The good news is we are co-creating this next chapter. Which train are you going to get on? If you only want an end to your suffering, then you're only going to be co-creating an end to the suffering as you perceive it.
Align to what you want to align to.
And then what are you going to be escaping to? What does 4, 5, and 6D look like? Have you ever spent any time visiting it? Did you spend any time recognizing how much you were still individuated in that 4th, 5th, 6th, and maybe higher dimensionality? Did you lose enough of your ego, enough of your perceived sense of self, that you realized, I'm not even living the experience that I was before? I am an individuation of myself, but I'm so far removed from the singularity that I once was and now integrated, that do I really want to live from that level now? You will find that you're asked that question. The more that you go into integration, the more that you embody that I am not just me here stuck until some term that's been biblically determined is going to happen, and it's going to be on God's terms, source's terms. It's going to be on the alliance taking down the cabal's terms. I hear you, people. We know that there's been a lot of suffering. The only way that suffering changes is a perceptual shift of recognizing and embodying the oneness that we are, and then accessing that in an integrated way. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Genesee, let's talk about your first integration in your book and why that was so powerful, because it really brings people back to the planet we're on and what we may be missing right now that all of our viewers could be integrating at this moment in terms of becoming sentient, conscious awareness stewards of this planet.
Yeah, and to speak to what you were saying so eloquently, it's free will. We hear so many times that humans have free will. We have choice. This is one of the beautiful aspects of who we are. We, every single second of every single day, get to choose.
Yes.
We're choosing constantly, and we are the ones creating our reality. So I guess step one would be start to really get into your mental field and what's going on up here that's creating patterns, that's creating this reality. And then how are you listening to everything here? Because we all do. It's 5D. Mental space is 5D. So what's here? And then how are we using this to then move our free will in this world or make these choices that we're making? And so integration. So are you talking about the planet of peace and connection in my book?
Yeah, I am talking about the moment that you moved into the lucidity, that you had the ability to be beautifully interacting with the earth space and with the sentient life of the tree and its needs for water and hydration, and your conveyance to the clouds to get the cooperation to make sure that it could drink it in. And literally you melded in with the tree. Let's just talk about what's available to everyone here in a way that might sound like the first step of integration, because we are still right here, 3D on this planet, most of us, right, in this conversation.
Most of us.
We know y'all are out there doing amazing things.
So in that space, the number one thing was, first of all, this was a different planet than Earth. And I understand it to be a planet within the Pleiades star system. And this entire part, or this entire planet, and the teachings that were held there for me when I had this astral experience, moving to this time space of this planet, the most amazing connection that I think helped me understand life here on Earth was that as I got there, the first thing they decided to show me was this tree, and every single minute detail of this tree was just calling to me. And how many times are you in nature when you're just, it's breathtaking. You see something, you could be driving. I'm going to use driving all the time, right? Driving, or if you're actually able to go ground in nature and you see something and you just stop and take that first deep inhale of the day. Right. There's just something so connective about nature. And so I was dropped onto this planet, and I was dropped right in front of this tree, and I could see the tree for everything it was, but my eyes were almost deceiving me because it was this intense energy, this swell of energy inside of me that felt like it needed to move and be one with this tree. And so as I was looking at this tree and seeing the depths of it and seeing how different it was, but how similar it was to the trees here on Earth, I actually went up to it and started to put my hand into it and found that my hand could just move right through the tree. And this was all energetic. And as soon as my hand moved into the tree, my entire energy body just melded and filled in every conceivable outline, I guess you could say, that this tree was holding. And I no longer had a sense of myself. I was sensing the needs of the tree. And it was a complete release. And so, of course, in this, it takes a vulnerability to let go of a construct that I'm a physical body. And so in letting that go and accepting the union with this part of nature, I found myself feeling it was only the deep roots of a tree could feel this amazing thirst. And I realized in that moment that I could actually, being a conscious manifesting element on this planet, I could request for the heavens to rain and a cloud to come over and feed this tree and nourish this tree. And I was this kind of symbiotic component of the exchange of life on that planet. And this was I mean, I went to 12 different planets and experienced so much, and this was the first thing. So in any experience like this, usually the first is one of the most connected and important, I think. And so it was such a lesson for me, and being an earthbound spirit, that this is part of the relationship, and you with your shamanic background and everything you've done with the earth. I mean, you've probably had these experiences being human here, grounded on this planet.
Unquestionably. As a matter of fact, and I just want to remind our viewers, 919-518-9773, because we're just coming up on a few minutes before the hour. The most lucid recent journeying that I had that brought me into such a clear conviction that the Ascension series needed to happen and open up the dialogue to each of you and bring in another individual. And eventually, you know, we will bring as co-hosts additional individuals that we're going to be sharing some of this dialogue with, because there are a lot of great folks out there that are doing exactly what it is that we're talking about right now. They're absolutely coming from a place of, here we are, we're all in this together. I'm getting these messages. I'm getting these experiences working with clients. I'm getting this hypnosis experience in session. But the first piece is, how willing are you to let go of a firm grip on, I am this. I am this. How tightly are you holding onto your dress? You cannot be expecting the universe to give you something you are in complete and total resistance to. And not only that, but haven't even begun to co-create what it looks like on the other side of this event, solar flash agenda that we're talking about. We're co-creating it. Don't be absent about this. Don't be absent about what that future looks like any more than you went to college and you didn't choose a major. This is what I'm getting again and again, is that we really need to be in a space of recognizing I am not just this, and I'm not taking all of this with me. I'm going to shed off the dross, as every other avatar, every other prophet before me that has left this planet in a perception of only being the 3D meat suit and evolving into a higher state of consciousness. Think biblically, think Gnostic texts, think esoteric teachings that you've read. So the first place, getting back to Genesee's comment, is the first way to do that is start integrating with the universe around you as you exist on this planet. You can visit that tree. And I don't just mean give it a hug. And I don't mean just have a conversation with it because the breeze is blowing. You can enter its field because you're running the grid every second. Do it consciously. While you're in this body, project your energy into that tree.
And you don't have to know what you're doing.
You don't.
This is the beauty of all of this. If you feel in your heart, and if it's not trees, if it's animals, if it's not animals, but it's, you know, a stone or a crystal, everything that's here on this earth is here for us to experience, enjoy, to play with, to basically co-create with. That's why all life consciousness on this earth is here.
That's right.
And so just take whatever it is that makes your heart beat a little faster. And even if you have no clue how to engage with it or what to do, because who does? And if somebody tells you how to, I mean, right? Follow the heart, follow your heart and what you want to do, and just allow it to guide you, right? Be vulnerable enough to just open yourself and ask for guidance, ask for how you're supposed to do this. And then just be present, breathe, connect to the heartbeat, and then you'll know and you'll have an experience. And these things, it's, creating the neural pathways. We have to train our brain to let go of how it normally operates, and basically open up to these expansive holographic experiences that then we can detach from, again, the letting go and moving into this space where we don't have to be in control, because control is such a limiting construct, and that's what the brain likes to do. It likes to keep us in the past and worry about the future. So letting go of that and just being open to how things are presenting in your current environment, and play with it. Play is the dance.
Not taking it so seriously. Because if we're suffering, I'm talking to those of you out there that are dealing with health problems. You're dealing with family members that are not thriving for whatever reason in your perception. You're dealing with financial issues. You just can't stand hearing about what's going on with the news and the State of the Union. You can't stand the president. You're concerned about World War III. Whatever happens to be paining you right now, the first thing that is going to bring you relief is it is a choice to be putting your co-creative energy into the fear porn. It is a choice to be believing that the reality that is being projected upon you outside of you is the reality you're co-creating. When you put your energy and attention on it, you're actually co-creating someone else's story. Someone else's story. And we're here to be telling you, as those that have tried and failed and have been part of mass consciousness and believing many things that were projected upon us that we didn't know any differently but to assume was the truth, is that when you take it all the way through that veil and experience multi-dimensionality, and you experience an integration and then come back into 3D, not because we have to, guys, but because it's a choice to come back into your body. It's a choice to come back into this recognition and then bring more of that wisdom, more of that understanding, and anchor it here, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's getting linear with all of the levels with which you exist. And that's what we are here to assist in, because that is truly, as we both understand it, yes, Genesee, what the ascension is. It's being able to run your dimensionality. You're not locked into any iteration of yourself. Not 3D, not 4D, not 5D, not 6D. Not even going all the way to source and coming back and individuating again, because that's how we all got here. We individuated from source. We've already been there before. We've been to heaven and back again, folks. Where do you want to be? This is exciting. Hopefully this wasn't too much.
I'm sure it was, but we'll break it down. I feel like every show, maybe because I assume that people will have questions and will speak their truths, which we hope and really honor and request. And so bring your truths in the comments and let us know some of those truths or what you're struggling with, or maybe something that didn't resonate with you. And we'll take that into the next episode, and we'll begin having dialogue and just bringing more light and awareness to everything that's circling you, everything that's circling us, and just have fun. We are going to have so much fun, so much play. Let go of the control. It's all about giving you your power back and letting you know that it's always been within you. And so let's reignite that fire within your soul and just give you all of your power back, because it's always been yours. And so that's what we're doing, is just opening you up to all that power that's held within you, so that nothing out here can affect you anymore, and you can be in this body.
What did you
say in the beginning? How did you say that? The deliciousness,
the deliciousness, marinating in this experience. And I hear and I feel and I sense the Ascension series is absolutely about taking the most spatial perspective and then going all the way back down into the minutia, because we have to, and then taking it back into the spatial, space again.
We're going in the toroidal.
But suffering, vortex. I've heard the call of you suffering. Genesee has written books and created protocols on her website that are there to assist those that do not know how to integrate. We are here to say we're way showers because we do it. We do the work, and we're here for you. And we are here to say, let's co-create the Ascension the way that we are choosing to co-create it together. And it is not something we have to wait for. It's now, it's now, it's now. It is it's part of the human experience, and it's available as we speak.
Beautiful.
So, Jenessee, thank you.
Yay!
Thank you for joining me.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to Spirit. She did. We are here doing this together.
In Ohio.
And it will go back into the studio, and she'll be Skyping into the future. Perhaps she'll come into the studio in the future, coming out to North Carolina. But this is going to be an ongoing dialogue. Join in the conversation in the future, 919-518-9773. And for the Skype gals and gents, computers 2K voice, we are encouraging your interaction. We thank you. We're here for you. We're here because of you. And we are one with you in this momentum, in this excitement, and ultimately in reality. This is one source, one field, one love. Coming from the heart.
Light and love.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for supporting Solutionary TV. Because again, I'll say this till the end, we are the solution.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.